So today we're going to go over how to solve for inequalities. So inequalities are any sort of expression that have a less than symbol, greater than symbol, less than or equal to symbol, or greater than or equal to symbol. These are our inequalities. So how we're going to solve inequalities is we're actually going to solve them the exact same way we solve equations with just a few modifications. So if you want to actually follow along as I do this, just rewriting it here. Remember, when we solve, that means we want to get the variable alone. So we need to get x alone, so we need to start getting rid of everything else. I like to draw a line here. So to get rid of that positive 2, I have to go ahead and subtract 2 on both sides. These will cancel. I can bring down my 3x, bring down that inequality. So just like when we bring down the equal sign, we're now bringing down the inequality. And then now I'm just going to go ahead and combine these terms. I have a negative 13 minus 2. That becomes negative 15. And then now to get x alone, I have to get rid of that coefficient of 3. So I'm going to go ahead and just divide by 3 on both sides. And this is divide by 3. These cancel, I'm left with just x. Same thing, I just keep bringing down that inequality, so I'm bringing down the less than sign. Negative 15 divided by 3 becomes negative 5. And then that would be the answer there. So we do solve these inequalities pretty much exactly the same as we solve equations. We cancel out, we bring down the sign, except instead of bringing down the equal sign, we're bringing down the inequality. The only difference is if we ever have to divide by a negative number. So in this step here, we divided by 3, just positive 3 here, because the coefficient was positive. If we ever have to divide by a negative number, that means we have to switch the inequality. And we're going to do an example right now. So if you divide by a negative number, you have to switch the inequality. Okay, let's go ahead and try an example. So you can also write this one down. Negative 2x minus 1 is greater than or equal to negative 9. So same thing, we start by solving these inequalities the exact same way we would solve equations. So whatever I do to one side, got to do to the other. I want to get my x alone, so I need to get rid of that negative 1. I'm going to do that by adding 1 on both sides there. These will cancel. I bring down what's on my left side, which is negative 2x. Bring down the inequality, greater than or equal to. And remember, you don't need this line here. I just do that just to show like whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side, but you don't need it there. And then this is negative 9 plus 1, which becomes negative 8. Okay, now to get our x alone, what I would have to do is get rid of that coefficient. So I would divide by negative 2, because the coefficient is negative. Divide by negative 2. And I'm actually just going to write a note here. Oops. Divide by negative 2, because that's going to be important. Then when I do that, the coefficients cancel, I bring down my x. Since I divided by a negative number, I have to flip the inequality. So instead of greater than or equal to, it's going to be less than or equal to. So you flip the inequality because we divided by a negative number. Flip, you could say flip or switch the inequality. And then it's because we divided by that negative 2. Okay? And then once you do that, you just finish up what you were doing here. Negative 8 divided by negative 2 becomes positive 4. So even though our answer wasn't negative, that's okay. So if you notice on our top one, our answer was negative, but we didn't flip that sign because we didn't divide by a negative number. We divided by positive 3. We got a negative answer, but we did not flip the sign. Whereas on our second example, we had to flip the inequality sign because we divided by a negative 2. Okay, so if you divide by a negative number, you flip the inequality. If you don't, you keep it exactly the same.